Why do I feel sing-songy on a Friday? But just give me a reason, Mace, or maybe 3 reasons, maybe more reasons why Bo Nix was picked by Sean Payton.
I could give you those reasons. It would spoil the rest of the show. But someone who knows more than we do, someone who's actually been in the Sean Payton offense way back in 06. And that, of course, is Joel Klatt, who is also an analyst for college football on Fox. So he's called a lot of Oregon games. I got corrected on the pronunciation, Oregon games the last couple of years. And he basically uses his own knowledge of what Sean Payton wants versus what he's seen out of Bo Nix. And to his credit, he was calling Bo Nix back in January to the Broncos.
Yep.
And he was on the airwaves on 104.3 The Fan Friday morning with Marshall Loreth and Mike Evans. And he's the one who spelled out the 3 reasons why Bo Nix was a perfect Broncos fit, a perfect Sean Payton fit specifically.
Yeah, and that's what we always go back to. It's the fit. And to go back to what Sean Payton is looking for, this is how Bo Nix is built. And for me, Mace, when I'm looking at quarterbacks, it's always about the feet. How many times did I say it about Drew Lock? It starts with your feet. Yeah, and it sounds weird to people, but your arm strength, your accuracy actually begins with your feet. Then it goes to your hips, and then it goes to your shoulders, and it's all about the twist, the lemon twist. But footwork is very, very key with Bo Nix.
Yeah, and if the feet aren't set, the feet aren't in the right direction, everything is chaotic. I mean, what you see, it's funny you mentioned Drew Lock. Locke had so much just arm talent, and I'm not using the arm talent the way others do. I mean, like, the dude had a cannon here. And because of that, distance-wise, he could make a lot of throws without having to have his feet properly set. He could, as I would say, just wing it. And that'll work in high school, and that'll work for the most part in college, although there were times it did catch up to him when he was at Mizzou, of course, in the SEC. But in the pros, it's going to get exposed. I think with Bo Nix, my theory on this, because he has a fine arm, a strong enough arm to be in the pros, but not that where you look at him in practice and be like, wow, like, it's why we say Zach Wilson's probably going to make the one throw every day that has tongues wagging
right
out there on the practice field because he can wing it. And Bo Nix doesn't have that ability. So it's almost like because of that, he's always worked harder on the footwork, getting that right. And you could argue that his feet, his base, is the best among this year's quarterback prospects.
Yes, you could make that argument. And it's arm arrogance, Mace. We saw it with Jay Cutler, right? Where it's like he's got the arm to make any throw, so he doesn't have to have good feet, and he can throw it off his back foot. And it'll get there sometimes, but in the pros, that'll be exposed. So I actually kind of like how Nix is built because he has to work on those things. And from a scouting perspective, your eyes follow your feet. If your feet are late, your eyes are going to be late. So going through progressions, all these pro level things, it actually begins with your footwork.
It does. And so let's start there. Part 1 of what Joel Klatt went into as far as reasons why Sean Payton thought Bo Nix was his guy starts with the feet.
And he has this ability to have his feet and his base, his foundation, ready to throw right away. So even when he is surveying and when he is you can tell like there are processing elements going on when he's deciding, when he's reading, when he's ready to throw. Therefore, the ball comes out quickly as opposed to maybe some other guys that need to, decide, then get themselves ready to throw. He's ready to throw. So that's one element. He understands how to foundationally be ready to pull the trigger with his feet. I think that's an important piece of this.
So not only the footwork, but getting the base set quick. getting that there, which if you're going to execute what Sean Payton wants you to do, we keep saying 1-2 throw, or maybe it's more accurate to say 1-2 decision, because sometimes, as we're going to get into a little bit in a discussion that's going to air this weekend, it's 1-2 and take off with Bo Nix. If you identify the coverage, if you see the receiving targets spreading things out, and you get the inside linebackers and safeties outside the box, and they're in man coverage, and things get wide open, that's where you have Highway 88 for Bo Nix to take off. But either way, it's everything is quick. Let's face it, that's a welcome contrast to last year if Bo Nix ends up succeeding in the NFL.
Yeah, and Bo Nix ahead of the game because of that footwork, which then helps his accuracy. And accuracy, to me, it's about pass placement. And we've got a conversation with Matt Waldman. You must hear. That's coming up on Saturday. We'll have that at 10 a.m. YouTube exclusive OBT weekend, right? With Matt Waldman. But it's the pass placement. It's not getting your receivers killed. It's knowing how to lead your receivers. Footwork leads to better accuracy. Better accuracy leads to better pass placement. And one thing that we saw with a bunch of screens, even, you know where to put the ball on either shoulder, in stride. These are things Bo Nix already does right now.
Puts it on the shoulder and in stride. That's a key thing. That's the second element of that. What you were talking about, what accuracy leads to this and that. I almost thought you were going to say fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering, like Yoda in Phantom Menace.
Right. Luke should listen to him. Anyway.
Anyhow, we digress. But yeah, at the next level of accuracy, it's starts with the feet, but then it manifests in precise placement and also being able to get to set the receiver up properly. I mean, you can deliver a ball that gets to the receiver, but it's not necessarily on target.
Right. And the receiver
has you can look at yes, I mean, you look back at some screen passes last year. I'm picturing some of the dump offs to Jaleel McLaughlin and Samaje Perine and Javonte Williams. Better placement sets up the opportunity for more yardage after the catch. Poor placement means some of those plays, unfortunately, were DOA, even if they end up in receptions.
Right.
I mean, I'd have to go back and look it up, but would it all surprise me if the Broncos led the league in passes that
off-target throws? I think PFF has that number.
Yeah, but even like off-target, not only off-target throws, but completions. Not incompletions, but we're not. No, by the way, when I hear incompletions, I hear Pat Shermer saying it after that response of 3 years ago. Incompletions to stop the clock.
On incompletions.
Yes. Yeah. Like it was almost like he got excited. Anyway, so that would be something to look at, because you'd see sometimes the receiving target would reach for the ball, but they'd have to make that adjustment. It would throw the timing off, and then the play was basically dead. Hopefully that changes with Bo Nix.
Yeah, and we brought it up about the 50 catches from only 2 FBS backs last year. One is Bucky Irving, the second is Blake Watson. And we brought it up in praise of Irving and then thinking about what it could be with Watson, Mace. But we also need to praise Bo Nix. I've said it a million times. A screen is a tough throw. Y'all may think it's like an easy throw. A properly thrown screen, correct shoulder, leading the back out of the backfield. Like, these are all things that Bo Nix is, adept at right now.
Yeah. By the way, with Bucky Irving, were you still surprised the Broncos, didn't make a play for him?
You got Franklin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We didn't do our combination show, but
yeah. I think they made a choice, basically.
Yeah.
Franklin or Irving. They knew that realistically they couldn't get both, and they chose Franklin.
You got Watson in your back pocket. That's a pretty damn good one.
And maybe that was the whole point, is you had the idea that maybe you could get Blake Watson. As much as we love Blake Watson, remember, he was not invited to the combine as well. Which we've seen plenty of guys get drafted who weren't at the combine. I'm going to bring one up that you probably don't want to hear about, Montreal Washington.
I'll bring up one that I do like. Philip Lindsay wasn't invited to the combine.
That's right. That's
So it happens.
He was at the Shrine. Philip
Yep.
Lindsay was Shrine, no combine.
Yep.
Broncos. Blake Watson, Shrine, no combine. Broncos.
Make it happen. But Joel Klatt talked about accuracy, man. You want me to play that now?
Yeah, let's hear from Joel, because this is the second layer of this 3-layer burrito of what Joel Klatt believes attracting Sean Payton to Bo Nix.
Accuracy is one of the things that Sean values more than anything, which is why Drew had so much success with him, is because he wants that ball out right now, and he wants it out in a place where the quarterback is communicating with ball placement. So, for instance, let's just say we're running a concept against, let's say, zone coverage. And because of the zone coverage, my guys are going to hook up in zones, and they're going to give me their numbers. Well, they can't see the defenders behind them, and yet the defenders behind them are the ones that are most likely to make the tackle. Okay, so you have to communicate with ball placement, and it's legitimately as specific as this. Can you hit a wide receiver who's hooked up in zone coverage in an intermediate or short zone? And can you hit them in the correct shoulder to communicate to them which way you want them to spin when they're running? That happens. That's part of being a great quarterback. You don't just throw it to complete it. You pass it with communication. Which way should you turn away from the defender? You don't want to turn them into a defender. You get no yak. So therefore, timing plus ball placement equals yards after the catch. That's an age-old West Coast adage that Bill Walsh used to talk about quite a bit.
Communicating with ball placement. That is at the heart of what's going on. Yes, that's worthy of the Christian Bale American Psycho gif.
Yes. You communicate with your pass so your receiver understands he wants me this way.
Yes.
Probably because there's a defender coming in. Don't throw hospital balls. Locke threw hospital balls. Wilson threw hospital balls. Like, don't get your guys killed. Maximize yak and work the offense. The system works. We already know this.
Yeah, Paxton Lynch could throw hospital balls too.
Yep.
This is unfortunately a thing. I've probably used the phrase hospital ball more in the last 7 years or so of my career than in the first 18 years of my career. It's just endemic to what we were watching.
Well, what did Peyton do? Yeah. Peyton threw it right on the shoulder. I go back to the very first practice. You and I were there. It was open in the media. We're all excited about Peyton. DT, God bless Demaryius Thomas. He ran a route. Ball fell short. Peyton said, run it again. DT ran it again. Ball fell short. Peyton yelled. Did I say 22 or 25? Run it again. They ran it again. DT ran it at the right spot. Peyton put it right in between the 8 and the 8. That is pass placement.
Yes. There's a difference between making your cut 8 yards deep and making your cut 8.5 yards deep. May not sound like a lot, 1.5 feet. In a precise offense, it's everything. And this is why, if it's working with a quarterback who has hyper accuracy like Bo Nix has, especially short to intermediate, that foot and that 1.5 feet of depth is going where you cut. That's going to mean something. It's look, I've made this illusion before. Russell Wilson is a quarterback. It's a jam band, it's jazz, it's improv. Okay.
Right.
Sean Payton wants the symphony executed as it's written, as the notes are on the sheet music.
Metronomical.
Mike Shanahan wants the symphony. Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay wants the symphony.
And guess who liked Bo Nix? Sean McVay, Sean Payton. It's all coming together, everybody.
That part's exciting.
It is. It is exciting to think.
Yeah, that it's also alignment, right? Now you've got owner, GM, coach, quarterback You know, it's funny. The Broncos have the triangles all over the uniforms, but it's actually in this case, it's a square, or maybe the sides aren't equal. Maybe it's just a straight up quadrilateral, right? But it's, you know, you might have one. Ownership might be like the longest line of the quadrilateral, by the way. To be fair,
Yes.
yeah, it starts there. It starts with the resources and the environment provided.
Right.
But now you have pretty full alignment, and I'd say it's the first time. It's probably the first time you had that since I wouldn't even say Peyton Manning's last year, because it was very much Gary Kubiak kind of figuring things out with Peyton Manning, but it wasn't necessarily the stuff that Manning wanted to do for a while until he understood where he was at this point in his career and that this was going to be the thing that protected him. So you probably have to go back in terms of alignment all the way to 2014. John Fox / Adam Gase guiding the offense. Pat Bowlen handing the reins to Joe Ellis, but it was still, you know, very much Pat Bowlen standards. And then John Elway as the GM, and of course Peyton Manning as the quarterback.
It was 10 years, bro. I would go back to 2013 because 2014 Gase forgot to run. That's why Peyton got killed against the Rams.
Oh, the Rams, yeah, like. Adam Gase literally told me the following day that he let the game plan get away from him, and that he felt bad, like he was apologetic about not running the ball.
Yeah, got Peyton killed. Thanks, Adam.
They got behind a little bit early. They had some injuries, and he panicked. It's a very human thing that can happen. Look, hey, it happens to Sean Payton. You see sometimes like the game flow will get away from him, right? It's not like you have to. It's funny. Sean Payton wants to run the ball, but you have to remember to run the ball sometimes, because the thing is, your instinct is, okay, we got to get it all back in this clump. But here's the thing: if you are on rhythm, if you are consistent in how you're driving the ball down the field, if the rhythm and timing is going, then the game isn't getting away from you, right? So you feel like you can stick with your plan, and you can, you know, get your 5 yards here, your 7 yards there, your 4 yards here. You can, I hate to use the phrase dink and dunk, but you can dink and dunk your way down, and you don't have to be desperate. Like if you're in a 14-3 hole in the second quarter, if you know you can move the football consistently, you don't have to abandon your plan.
Matriculate.
Yes, as Hank Stram said.
Yep. Now, this one I haven't heard yet, Mace, but I have it titled Clat on Scat. So set this up and let's play this. It's a longer clip, but my God, I can't wait to hear it.
Okay, scat protection, just briefly explained. It's basically your five-man protection from the offensive line and 5 targets fanning out. Okay. It's almost, I think scat's probably like scatter, as in the receiving targets scatter. The key thing is the running back doesn't stay in to protect. The running back runs a route. So this is all about quick diagnosis, right? Quickly evaluating what's there coverage-wise, because what's going to happen is you're probably going to have a pressure approaching. I mean, if you've got a 5-man rush on scat protection, there's, even though it's one-on-one each spot, you're probably going to have somebody that's getting beat, or you've got a stunt, a twist, and it kind of messes things up. So you've got to get it. You've got to get it out quickly. And this is where Bo Nix 1-2 out. This is where he can do something that, frankly, Russell Wilson last year could not. And this favors what Sean Payton wants to accomplish conceptually.
Sean really loves what I would call kind of like a scat protection, okay? Meaning that there's only 5 protectors and all 5 potential free releasers are out. They're out right away. Therefore, the burden of protection falls on the quarterback rather than just the offensive line. You see, if you want to sit there and protect with 7 and 8 guys, you bring in tight ends, you keep backs in. They have what's called a check release, meaning they're responsible in protection and then they're releasing into their route. then what you're doing is you're putting the burden of protection on those 7 or 8 individuals because you're max protecting up and you've only got 3 guys out there. You've only got 3 guys to bracket defenders. You've only got 3 guys to potentially take advantage of coverage. So the burden of protection are on the guys up front. I think that's where Russell Wilson is more comfortable because he wants to sit and push the ball down the field, hold it, create, and run around. Well, that doesn't fit in Sean's offense. He wants to be a scat release type of team. Well, to be a scat release type of team, you have to have a quarterback who is comfortable protecting himself with his mind. Okay, so you've got 5 free releases out. Now I need to understand who are my 5 that I'm going to block, and then where am I responsible in protection, and then where are my answers based on where I'm responsible for those second-level defenders. Okay, so are we identifying Mike and blocking Mike? Are we sliding out to the number 1 weak side, the number 1 strong side? And then who am I responsible? Where are my answers? Sean wants the answers to lie in the quarterback. Bo's more comfortable in that scat style protection, answering protection issues with his own mind and his own answers within the concept.
I love
protecting with the mind.
Yeah. And communicating with the arm.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
Yeah. Again, from somebody who knows Joel Klatt, who's actually been in Sean Payton's offense. This is why Sean Payton feels like his best chance at success with a quarterback that he was going to get his hands on was going to be Bo Nix. Again, he's staking his legacy on this, but he's staking his legacy on the skill set. And I'm not talking about the arm. I'm talking about the mental. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The mental and a lot of things that have been coached into him over time. The processor, which of course we can't really coach into a guy, all of that. That's why Sean Payton is gambling his legacy and his hopes of being a Hall of Fame coach, which probably ride on getting to, if not winning, at least getting to a Super Bowl in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the minimum threshold here. And he's rolling the dice on Bo Nix being able to be the quarterback who can do that. It's aligned, but again, it's alignment. I mean, he sees this skill set, this brain that Bo Nix has as what can get him there. And that's what's exciting. I mean, it really does underscore how the Sean Payton, Russell Wilson marriage was just, it was destined to fail. I actually did a radio appearance in Pittsburgh earlier this week, and I talked about alignment. And I said, if the Broncos wanted alignment, they would have been able to get Aaron Rodgers back in 2022 with Nathaniel Hackett. That would have been alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And you could argue that for all of Nathaniel Hackett's failings, if they had traded for Aaron Rodgers, he might still be the Broncos head coach.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I'm not saying it would have been successful to where they were going to Super Bowl, but it would have been better for Hackett, and it would have been better for the organization. But they don't get Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers ends up going back to Green Bay for another year, and we got to get somebody. We got to get somebody. So let's go to the next accomplished quarterback, and that's Russell Wilson. But it was a poor alignment with what Nathaniel Hackett wanted to do. You married concepts that probably shouldn't have been married. And it was a total, and then on top of everything else, they're changing points of emphasis week after week. Hackett's throwing too much at them. It was a disaster. So then you get to 2023, Hackett's gone, Sean Payton's in there, and Sean Payton does modify a lot of things for Russell Wilson. And Wilson has good base level statistics. You look a layer below, it's not. You look at sacks taken, not good. You look at being able to do the things that Payton wants from his quarterback, not good. And Payton adjusted, but there's only so much adjustment you can do, right? Like ideally, you're kind of meeting in the middle, and Payton's adjusting, and Wilson's not really meeting him, and that's part of why it was doomed to fail.
I'll use the Sean Payton buzzword, breaking point.
Yeah.
There was the breaking point. I'm going to change only so this much, and he's not changing, so we got to do something different. That is Bo Nix.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, and we can actually chop this up next week, is Sean Payton, in the course of talking about Bo Nix right after the draft, talked about doing things that suited him. In other words, a lot of these concepts Sean Payton will do, it'll be under center. Payton likes under center formations, but a willingness to go shotgun in them to make it happen if that's what Bo Nix is more comfortable in. So that may be something. New Orleans was never shy about shotgun under Breeze, but this may be something where we're looking at a Sean Payton offense with a modification being shotgun or pistol type of looks rather than under center. That's something we'll see if he goes in that direction. But the fact that Payton kind of expressed a willingness to do that, to meet Bo Nix where he was, I think shows you that it might, that part formationally, it might look different. Operationally, not, but formationally, it might.
We'll chop that up next week because I sense people have a misconception about the rigidity of Sean Payton. It's not there. It's not there. That's for next week. For now, in Mace, we're wrapping up today's program. I hope you have a good weekend, buddy.
I hope you do as well. I mean, we got, don't forget, we have a show Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Mountain Time.
Yep.
Matt Waldman diving more into Bo Nix, also diving into Troy Franklin, Blake Watson, even Zach Wilson. So let's check that out. There's a comp on Zach Wilson that may be relevant to a lot of you Broncos fans watching this. It may not be what you want to hear, but it's still relevant.
Hey, the truth isn't meant to make you feel good. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
So there you have it. He's Andrew Mason. I am Cecil Lammey. Come see me at Free Comic Book Day on Saturday.
Ooh.
In Parker at
Oh yeah.
So I feel like I feel like I should wear my good Star Wars shirt. Anyway, yeah, that'll be fun. May the 4th be with you. We'll have a special Saturday edition of Orange and Blue today. He's Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. But before we're out of here, Mace, how do they help us out on YouTube?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell so
that you never miss a vid. That's right. He's Mace. I'm Cease. OBT is a BFD. Until next time, stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty.